This conference will now be recorded.
And I also want you to know that members of the media have been invited to participate and to monitor this call as well. I'd respectfully ask that you all put your phones and your computers on mute until we're ready for questions. I also want to reference the Chamber's website at www.nacogdoches.org. There's an enormous amount of helpful information available on COVID-19 on our COVID-19 resource page. The major news this past week is the resolution from Governor Abbott to wear masks and to practice social distancing. I will begin with our first presenter this morning. Hopefully he's online. I'm pleased to introduce Sheriff Jason Bridges. Since I've been here in Nacogdoches, there is no local official that has impressed me more than Sheriff Bridges. Law enforcement and operating jail in this challenging environment today is very difficult, but I think we are blessed here in Nacogdoches to have somebody with the skill set and the knowledge and the determination such as Sheriff Bridges to help us navigate these challenging times. So we're very pleased to have Sheriff Bridges at the helm of our county jails and law enforcement system. So would you please welcome with me Sheriff Bridges to discuss mask and distancing enforcement. Good morning, Sheriff Bridges.
Good morning. Thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you for having me this morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Okay, this morning we're just going to talk a little bit about mask and social distancing and some of the things we're doing here in the county jail as well to give everybody an update. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, prior to the July 4th weekend, our Governor Abbott put in a bill for everybody requiring to wear a facial mask. Also, gatherings 10 or more, he has required to gather permission either from, if you live in the city, from the mayor or from the county judge. So we're just going to kind of talk about that, our enforcement issue, and the mask and COVID-19 of what's going on with that. So we have been seeing our numbers rise here in Nacogdoches County. If you go to the Nacogdoches County Emergency Management Office, and the city also does daily updates on that. We have a total since this has started of 569 cases in our county alone. They estimate, and this is an estimation of 209 are currently active. The big number here that everybody needs to look at is obviously we've had 31 deaths in our county that have been related to the coronavirus. In an effort to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, our Governor Abbott has mandated that everybody wear a mask where you cannot properly 6-foot distance. So that's going to be basically in a lot of businesses, and that's going to affect a lot of people on the phone that owns businesses here. There are some exemptions to that, such as any child 10 years or younger, any person that has a medical issue are exempted from wearing a mask. When this order first came out, we did a live stream video on it. I think some of that was kind of taken out of context. We are trying to enforce this order. How the order is written kind of makes it hard for law enforcement. I am speaking just on behalf of the Sheriff's Office this morning. I don't know what other agencies. I have talked with many other agencies who feel the same way. But in part of the order, it states in there that you cannot detain or arrest anybody for a mask violation. Well, anytime we come in contact with somebody, such as a traffic stop out here on the street, you're actually detaining someone. They're not free to go. So it kind of makes it hard to detain someone and ID them and issue them a warning or a citation if it's written in the order that we cannot do so. So we are reminding people out in the county, if we see people in clear violation of our governor's orders, we certainly want them to comply. One of the things that we are doing is we've gone around to several businesses. We've talked to the managers there. Some businesses are being very proactive, and I encourage anybody on here that is a business owner to be proactive. Uh, to please, many of the businesses that we've seen have signs posted up. Some stores are not allowing them in without mask. Other stores they're just encouraging. But I think as this thing goes on, I think the majority of our businesses are going to require you to have a mask on before you enter. In fact, we've seen one major business starting that over there this week. Excuse me. Uh, what I've seen, I went to several other counties this weekend just looking at some major stores that we have similar here in Nacogdoches. I think we have very good compliance so far. In some of our major stores where I see a lot of busy traffic at, I would say in the low 90 percentile range. Some stores we probably have 95%. I think doing very good. I think we're trying to achieve the majority of people to wear the mask. That's the ultimate compliance level. So far, I think we're very close to that. I would like to see it in the higher 90s, but I think we're doing a very good job. I commend our businesses for what they're doing. I know everybody's been placed in a hardship on this. I know a lot of people have different views on this issue, but this is our mandate. I know our governor is getting some great information from health officials, and this is what they believe will help stop the spread of the coronavirus. So I would just ask that all our businesses on here uh, try to enforce that and try to help everybody out so we can stop the spread. As far as the jail, we've had two people come in to the county jail with the coronavirus. One we transferred to Gregg County. The other one, as we tested, we was able to get out of here. So we've done testing within our jail. We have the same protocols. We've been wearing masks in place since this mandate has started. None of our employees have, from what we've seen, have gotten sick at work from the coronavirus. We had two jailers early on that was affected by the coronavirus, but we was able to link of where they caught or got sick from, and it was not from the jail. So everything I've seen, that the protocols that we have in place, the cleaning, the masks they've been wearing has definitely helped our jailers and inmates. Inmates are also required to wear masks if they come out of their cell to stay healthy. So we believe the mask work. We've seen it work here. We think it'll work out in our community, and the more and more people wear them, I think these numbers will start going down. We've had a few days that the number's been over 30, and that's a large amount of cases coming in one day for Nacogdoches County. I think yesterday we had the number, I think it was down to 5. Hopefully we can continue to trend downward and get this thing going in the right direction. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Sheriff Bridges? Sheriff Bridges, what are you recommending? I mean, we talk a lot about the retail community and the restaurant industry, but those of us that are in an office setting, I suspect it's equally important for us to be adhering to the recommendations coming from the county and state officials.
Yes, I'll talk about, we have some office settings here at the sheriff's office, and, I know each business is different. Each type of business sets up its own challenges and is very unique. What we've done, some ideas for people out there, we have a jail division, we have a patrol division, CID, and then we have our clerks. So we've limited people coming into offices. We've had before other people trying to mingle in offices, just talking. So we've stopped all that. Everything's by email now, or sent fax or over the computer or however it needs to be done. We're trying to keep people out of offices. We're making all our jail staff use a different door to come in. We're limiting traffic through our main hallway just to try to keep safety protocols in place. So, a lot of things with the technology that we have can be done over the phone or by email. And that's some of the things that we're utilizing now instead of people coming inside a small office and having gatherings and things like that.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Sheriff Bridges? Well, if not, Sheriff Bridges, thank you very much for that update. We really appreciate that, and we wish you and your colleagues a safe and successful week and weeks ahead as well. So, thank you for joining us today, and hopefully you'd feel free to stay with us for the remainder of the call.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir. And we do want to let you folks know, Kelly, I don't know if you have those signs that the hospital gave us, but we do have, and Kelly's going to hold them up for those of you that have a video feed. We have a rather large supply of signs that will help people be informed about social distancing requirements when you enter a place of business, whether it's a restaurant, a retail, or an office environment. So feel free to come by the chamber and pick them up. They're readily available. I'm pleased to welcome this morning the president of Stephen F. Austin State University, Dr. Scott Gordon. Good morning, Dr. Gordon.
Good morning. Hope everybody is doing well. No real significant update today. We are in the midst of our summer 2 session. And in addition, we, like most of you, are continuing to watch the numbers of cases, hospital bed usage, monitoring CDC and health department guidelines, and really hoping for the best. I think these next couple of weeks are going to be a key determiner in where we go moving forward.
I'm sorry you caught me putting on my mask. I apologize. I'm just trying to adhere to the policies here at the chamber. So thank you, Dr. Gordon. Any questions, Dr. Gordon? If not, Dr. Gordon, thank you very much. We appreciate that, sir. Next, I'm pleased to introduce representing Governor Greg Abbott, Betty Rousseau. And Betty, I might call to your attention in the chat section. We do have a question. Good morning, Betty.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go over a couple of the announcements that Governor Abbott made this last week. He's been working with Vice President Mike Pence and others to activate additional federal resources in various parts of the state. These resources include an urban area medical task force from the U.S. Department of Defense and a disaster medical assistance team from U.S. Health and Human Services. Another announcement was that Omnicare is partnering with the state to provide COVID-19 point of care testing for assisted living facilities and nursing homes throughout the state. This partnership will provide on-site same-day testing and results for both facility staff and their residents. And last but not least, our small business team is providing another webinar. It's an update on PPP loan forgiveness and terms. It will be held tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. and I'll send the information to Kelly so y'all can distribute if you'd like. And that's it for me. That question in chat, I saw that. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I thought, Heather. That's I thought it was they were going to give it up to the schools for the local ISDs to decide. So a lot is up in the air, but I think that's what's going to happen. We maybe Travis will know something more about that.
If more information becomes available, if you share it with me, I'll be sure to pass it on to Michelle. That'd be great, Betty. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good morning. I'll introduce now Senator Robert Nichols. Okay, Senator Nichols apparently is not with us. How about Representative Travis Clardy?
Good morning, Wayne, and everybody. Good to be back on our chamber call. Let me pick up a couple things. First off, I just want to thank Sheriff Bridges for coming on today. We're in regular contact on any number of issues. It's been kind of nice from a standpoint of seeing somebody else have their turn in the box and getting picked on for what I think is doing an exceptional job. And I just want to brag on Jason. I've watched his videos, what he said initially, how he amplified that and wanted to explain it again to make sure people had questions. He's made himself available to the people of Nacogdoches County who he serves, I believe, very faithfully. And I think it's really found the right balance as the position of the county sheriff of Nacogdoches. I don't think you'd be doing a better job. He is obviously committed, like the rest of us, to doing things safely and appropriately. We all want to follow the law. We all want to protect our friends and neighbors and families from the COVID virus. And I think Jason is staked out exactly the right position. So we just want to publicly thank him for what he's doing. And one of the reasons I think his approach works is because of things like this, Wayne. You put the chamber calls together. I've sensed a real attitude of teamwork and buy-in. Just I can say anecdotally, as I've gone around town and just taking care of things of personal nature, getting a flat fixed on a tire, or going to the grocery store, picking up some things here or there. I'm seeing broad compliance, not because they've been ordered to, but because I think our people have really, understand the nature of this virus and want to do the right things. And I see, people really practicing all those things we're supposed to be doing. And so I think that's one reason where if you could compare Nacogdoches right now to what's going on around the state, particularly in the urban areas, our numbers are really much different. There's a reason that our trauma service area, I think we're H. Tyler is backwards. Neither of our counties in those, none of the counties in those.
Representative Clardy, I think we've lost your audio, sir.
And so, when I look at what we're doing, we have here locally, talking to Jeff, talking to Gary, we're at around half capacity is defined, and I think there's reserve capacity above that, but our numbers have really dropped. I do want to add this. I appreciate Amy Mahaffey has done a fantastic job keeping our area updated with our Nacogdoches numbers. And so what happens is some of these cases have lagged because of how they're reported by the state. I think everybody, the county, the city, and Amy is doing a very good job of trying to keep it current where it matches what we get. As I understand it, some of the most recent fatalities have been reported really have lagged in time from date of death. There's been more of a nature of confirming some things with the tests that then finally get updated once they have a sound basis to put it in the column of a COVID fatality. Same thing with cases. What we've seen, though, in the state, the bad news is, and I'll talk about this more, those of you who are Rotarians, I'm speaking tomorrow at the Nacogdoches Rotary Club at the Fredonia, and then we'll plan on doing our 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock Friday Facebook Live program. So, around the numbers are really we've seen quadrupling in a 5-week period of the infection rate, of the hospitalization rate around the state, but not here. We've seen an increase in the fatality rate, and this is the one thing I think that's interesting to watch. It has pinged back and forth to really low numbers to very high numbers. This weekend we got
Representative Claudia, I think we're losing your sound, sir.
these numbers was around 40, around 100 on a couple of days, but yesterday, so I think it's not going to translate into infections. There's a logical argument, there's a reason that it won't. And I think so I think that's where we are with that. Betty had asked the question, I guess Heather asked the question about what's going on with our schools. I really don't have any new information on what we're doing. I can tell you this is a subject going on in Austin with the governor's office and with the Texas Education Agency with Commissioner Morath, how that's going to be timed out. I do expect that what we will see is and what I hope to see is that a lot of these decisions will be left locally. I think these are better handled locally, such as Sheriff Bridges talking about how to enforce these rules throughout the county, or local law enforcement for enforcement of the mask order or the occupancy order. That's best handled locally by local law enforcement. With schools, I think that the schools also are better, those issues are better made by the local school board, local administrator, who knows the particular needs of our communities, whether that be, there's 9 school districts in the county of Nacogdoches, the largest being Nacogdoches ISD. I think those folks know what they need and what they're going to do, and let them make those decisions. I think that's where we will be. But the TEA is meeting with Commissioner Morath and Governor Abbott's people are talking about this. So I expect more information. One last thing on education. I am working on it. It hasn't gone already. It will be going shortly. A lot of talks about the STAR test. Commissioner Morath is very much a proponent and believer in the STAR test, end of year testing. I've never been a fan of those as something necessary or really productive for the educational process. So I'm joined with many of our colleagues, particularly on the COVID crisis. I felt this way before COVID. I don't think we need STAR tests, end of year tests that have been mandated by the states. We've dramatically reduced those since I've been in office. But if it were left up to me, I would eliminate them. I think we have other things that can serve that purpose and have for years. I question where some of that money goes and why, and how that is spent in education when I think it could be better spent in the classroom. And fundamentally, I believe in the ability of our local teachers throughout Texas, and particularly in House District 11. We have some fantastic teachers that are creative, they're thoughtful, smart people, and I think give them the authority and the ability to teach. That's what they do. They're professionals and they know how to teach. They don't need to be trying to teach students how to regurgitate on a standardized test. I don't think that's what education should be about. So there's a big groundswell of support from the legislature to get Commissioner Morath to reconsider his current decision to continue to require STAR testing even during this next school year, with all the pressures that are brought on our educational system because of the COVID crisis. So with that, Wayne, I think that kind of covers the waterfront. There's a lot. Like I said, right now, I think we are at a pivotal time, and this thing could go in either direction. I still personally believe we're on the right side of the curve, but I also look at some of the data and can see where there are indicators that we may have returned back to the other wrong side of the curve. And we're just going to have to see where that is, follow the data, follow the science, and act accordingly. So that's the news from where I see it, and appreciate the opportunity to visit. And if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Representative Clardy. Any questions for Representative Clardy? If not, thank you again, Travis. We really appreciate that update. I'm pleased to welcome the President and CEO of the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation, or NEDCO. Good morning, Larissa. Well, we'll move on from there. Hopefully Amy Mahaffey is with us this morning. She's with the city of Nacogdoches. She's our community liaison. Good morning, Amy.
I will be filling in for Amy. I'm Anna Middlebrook with the City of Nacogdoches. Amy and Larissa are both in a meeting at the moment, so if you don't mind me hopping in, Wayne.
Not at all. We're pleased to have you. And again, what a great job you've been doing on the communications end as well, Anna. We just want to commend you for that.
Thank you so much. I have been encouraged by how all of our community partners have come together to serve our residents, and it's been almost a pleasure, even though we are in a national disaster. Right now, the city is operating in a virtual emergency operations center, and we continue to track data and trends, and we'll be releasing these trends each Tuesday with our 7, 14, and 21-day graphs. This helps emergency management teams understand how the virus is affecting Nacogdoches County, and we are still able to serve at capacity at both our local hospitals despite the uptick in our cases. Please remember the governor's mask order and know that local officials fully support the governor and his request that we all wear masks in order to slow the spread here in Nacogdoches. Currently, the city's water office is closed to in-person walk-up service, but all of our services are still open and we're helping residents, and there are many different locations around the city as well as online that we can help you with this. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Any questions of Anna? Again, Anna, thank you very much for the job you guys are doing, keeping us posted. I know that I appreciate even the weekend posts and the updates on that very much. I want to say good morning to Nancy Wyndham, the President and CEO of the Texas Forest County Partnership. My understanding is that Nancy's going to defer an element of her presentation. Good morning, Nancy.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much. I knew we were limited in time. All I have is an update, but I've got some exciting news, and I'm going to field my part of the portion of the agenda over to Mark Duran, who he's Executive Director for the Deep East Texas Workforce Solutions, and he will give you the report at this time. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Wayne.
Good morning, Mark.
Wayne. Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you, Nancy. Hey, Wayne, I just wanted to follow up with some of the things that were said earlier in the call about the wearing mask. But our workforce center there in Nacogdoches and all of our 6 workforce centers throughout the 12 counties are still open by appointments. We're still trying to do things as virtually as possible. But we're doing all of our workshops. We have doing a job fair every 2 weeks that our employers are participating and also our job seekers. So we want to make sure everyone knows that our workforce centers are open. One of the things that we have been tracking is our UI claims that are filed by week. We just got our update for last week, and the number of claims are dropping. I was on a call earlier with Texas Workforce Commission, and since March, we've had 3.8 million claims and paid out over $19 billion in UI claims to UI claimants. But that number is dropping. For Nacogdoches, just kind of comparing March through June of 2020, we've had 3,820 claims. This same time in 2019, we only had 705. So you can tell the impact that the pandemic has had. But you know, the good side of that, if you'll go to our website, Workforce Solutions Deep East Texas, and you look on our homepage, we have a page called Jobs Now, and that is where those employers that are hiring are listing their jobs within work in Texas. And there are a lot of jobs that are opening up now. Last week we had over 50 jobs that were posted. These were new jobs that were posted the week before, and this week we had over 30. So employers are reopening and they are hiring. So that's a good point there. Looking at the unemployment, our numbers should come out again next week for June. Currently for Nacogdoches County, we're sitting at 9.9%. And then also for the city of Nacogdoches, slightly higher at 10.1%. But those numbers hopefully will come down some next week. Nancy asked me we did get some additional funding through one of our grants, and with that, it gave the boards the opportunity to come up with some innovative plans. And so what we did here is we hired 3 ladies that we call them employer relations specialists, and they're reaching out to the employers within the 12 counties They're trying to find out, our legislation and our elected officials have really been supportive of the training needs that our employers have and what our education system. And so we've tried to reach out and find out not only what is happening now to get them out of the pandemic and reopen, but also as what's going to happen 2 to 3 years from now. What are their training needs? So we're trying to reach out and do a needs analysis. And for all of our employers, we've done it by industry sector, such as healthcare, manufacturing, retail, but reaching out to those employers and finding out how we can assist them. As I see Ms. Wyndham on the call, Aaron, is how we take those students from Nacogdoches ISD into an Angelina College SFA and then prepare them for the workforce. And so with these employee relations specialists, is they're reaching out, finding out what those needs are, what type of training that those young adults have, and even the adults that are being affected by the pandemic, and then how we can set up our training. So with our strategic planning, our targeted occupation list that we have that we can send people to school is to make sure that we are aligning our services with our education and our employers. And also, as I mentioned, this will help us with our strategic plan, helping my board and myself identify what training needs we have in this area. So you'll, as employers, you'll be getting calls from these ladies. I know there's a lot of surveys going out there, but as much as we can share and get as much information. The other thing I'd like to just say, Wayne, is we kind of duplicated some of the things you did in the 12 counties we serve. I think Nacogdoches is the only county I'm aware of that's doing what you do every Tuesday, of doing these phone calls. So one of the ladies came up with an idea that we do a Workforce Wednesday, where we're working with our county judges and our elected officials within our 12 counties and doing a call. Our Commissioner Demerson, who is Commissioner of Employers, has been on the first call that we did in Jasper County last week. We have one in Shelby County, but we're just skipping around to our 12, and we'll definitely be in Nacogdoches. But you're doing such a great job already. But just letting them know of a lot of the things that we're covering here. What's the unemployment rates? What are what are the needs of that county, and how can we assist them as we go through? So we're calling it Workforce Wednesday, reopening Deep East Texas, highlighting that particular county. So we're last week in Jasper, we had over 40 that attended that. We, like I said, we're working with Judge Harbison over in Shelby County tomorrow. The last thing I'll finish with is, we look at each week is when those UI claims come in, is what industries are those claimants coming from? And the top 5 UI claim industries for Nacogdoches last week was poultry processing was the first one. Limited service restaurants was number 2, and then full service restaurants was 4. And of course, with the reduction from the 75% to the 50%, you can see how those came in. Number 3 was warehouse clubs and super centers, and then number 5 was our nursing care facilities. So we're paying really close attention to that, and each week it seems to change. I know there's been some different ones. A couple of them have stayed on there throughout that process, but again, just helping those employers, they reopen on that. Nancy, anything that maybe we left out, or you'd like for any comments to add to that? I know Nancy has been really helpful in getting
but there's a lot of businesses, Nacogdoches County. There's maybe some of those calls in some of those other counties that some of the participants on this call, or you may know of a business that has another business in another county that would like to participate. Y'all have done a great job. The Jasper call was great. It'll just bring us all together, helping us help one another in our region. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I told y'all would enjoy his report better than mine. But we're all about regionalism, and y'all are doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Well, and I will mention, Wayne, is we're working with an employer now that's relocating their business, and they'll be announcing some things in the next couple of days. But with those businesses, as Nancy said, working regionally, is that if it's an industry sector, is if those employees that possibly lose that job, and then where can we help them? And in the area, you know, commuting distance and things like that. So I know Nacogdoches has a really strong manufacturing group right now. I know we're working with some companies through the manufacturing day that's really opened up some things for us. For instance, Mass Motorsports there, Horace, reached out to us to help with some, we call it work experience, where we pay the salary for a period of time. We reached out to Aaron and Nacogdoches ISD to refer some of those students, and also some of the other school districts in Nacogdoches County, and they actually hired 4 participants, and Horace said they're doing very well on the job, and there's some possibility of permanent employment at the end of that work experience. So again, that coordination of education and employment, cannot stress enough how important that is. And so Aaron, I'd like to just say thank you for that, on all the help that y'all gave in recruiting those individuals. Okay. Wayne, that's our report.
Well, thank you, Mark, for all you're doing. We really appreciate it. And what I loved about first of all, I love Workforce Wednesday. I think that's a great addition. And second, that occurred to me during your presentation is the amount of coordination between all these various entities and community partners. I said only strengthens our ability to be able to react to this very difficult challenge we have in front of us. So thank you, Mark, for you and your staff and all you guys are doing. And Nancy, thank you again. I do appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm pleased to welcome the President and CEO of the Nacogdoches Area United Way, Gary Lee Ashcraft. I see Caroline's on the line.
Good morning. We're both on the line. Real quick, I'm going to tell you I've been getting a lot of questions about how we're going to do a campaign this year. The answer is we're going to do it hybrid fashion, virtual fashion, and pivot, and have a very good campaign. I like those 3 words, and we will be making an announcement that's exciting about the campaign here very shortly. The other thing I would request, I have a request, I need cloth masks, please. Anybody have those in storage? Need them for Oak Hill Plaza. They have some definite needs out there, and if anyone knows a contact for Brazos Transport bus system, I'd appreciate that. Going to turn it over to Caroline, who's got better news than I do.
Caroline, your microphone is on mute.
Okay, here we are. Microphone on now. Thank you, Wayne. So the better news, the good news is that we have been able to help through some generous donations to our COVID-19 fund from Bright Foundation and Encore and several individual donors as well, and the Truist Foundation. We accumulated $28,000 in our COVID-19 fund for Nacogdoches Area United Way, and accepted applications from local agencies for assistance related to COVID-19, an increase in their needs. And we were able to make a grant recently to Senior Citizen Center and the Helping House, Solid Foundation, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. And those posts are on our Facebook page, so if anybody wants to read more about what exactly they went for, then you can find some information along with some pretty cheerful pictures of happy agency leaders receiving this funding. You can just imagine in the case of these agencies how their situations have changed so that they need extra money for supplies, like for Solid Foundation to be able to still reach out to the kids, and extra materials, extra cleaning and sanitation protocol has led to an increased expense there for all of them. The Senior Center has been having a greater demand for meals for homebound seniors, as well as ones that can do the drive-through service. And because of all the increased need due to COVID-19, and also the loss of some revenue from fundraising events they've been not able to have or anticipating not having, there have been a lot of unfunded services that was making them nervous. So they were very appreciative of getting some of this United Way COVID-19 funding, and we're so happy to have generous donors and organizations so that we could have this to pass on to them recently. And then we are right in the middle also of our allocations process, which is when we every year get a community together to decide how we're going to spend our pledges for the next year. So right now we're going through the applications for funding agencies in 2021. We have 16 agencies that applied, and because of COVID-19, we had all of a sudden come up with a COVID-friendly virtual way to do this. So we did, rather than having the in-person committee where applicants come and represent themselves in person, we evolved to this virtual method where they submit their applications to us online, and a video up to 10 minutes that we have been able to share through Dropbox with our allocations team wherever they are to watch in the comfort of their own home, socially isolated and all that. And then next week we're going to get everybody back together for it'll be a Zoom style allocations committee meeting where we make the final decisions on how we will allocate next year's anticipated pledges, which comes back around to what Gary was mentioning. The anticipated pledges will come from our campaign, which will be a very rushed digital transformation that United Way Worldwide has been providing guidance on for some time anyway, even in advance of COVID-19, because that's the way things are going. We want to make things convenient for donors. Now we're also wanting to make it safe for donors, and just not sure what things are going to look like in the fall, which is our normal fundraising campaign season. But we're gearing up for that, and we're excited. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you very much, Caroline and Gary Lee, for all you're doing in this very important area. From the hospitality industry, we couldn't have any better representative than Sherry Morgan from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Good morning, Sherry.
Hi. Good morning. We continue to see visitor activity as the summer progresses. By the end of this week, we should have our official hotel occupancy numbers for the month of June. So we are still in wait for that. But as it stands, we continue to promote responsible travel and tourism to Nacogdoches, and the public seems to be responding well to that. We also, early on in the pandemic, we took towards refocusing our energies and efforts more towards the residents of Nacogdoches to offer words of support and encouragement and ways to amplify the resilience of our community. And in the same spirit of that, recently we've reached out to what I consider to be one of the most professionally run and effective Facebook pages that I've seen for a cause, and it's called Support Face Coverings in Nacogdoches. We've reached out in offers of support and partnership to help them with some videos and maybe hosting some of that on our social media platforms to amplify their voice, because their message is, again, it's not political. It's very common sense, very reasonable, matter of fact, and I think it accurately portrays the thoughts and sentiments of Nacogdoches. So I encourage you to check that out if you're interested. Again, it's Support Face Coverings in Nacogdoches, but hopefully we'll be able to do some really neat things with them to help spread the message that they have. We continue to want to, instead of looking at things that we're unable to do amid these times, we want to focus our energy and efforts on action items. So I encourage you all to look for ways to express and extend grace, be more patient with businesses and customers, be kinder than necessary, and ask how you can help and bless others, because it might be something that you're hard pressed to think of a way that you could help, but it might be a pretty easy ask. It's just people not feel comfortable asking for help, and on the other side of that, people not knowing what they really can do to help. Secondly, remember that perception is reality. And I just got finished talking about Facebook, but look to social media if you need proof. I'm sure Sheriff Bridges could agree with that. We need now more than ever to be as honest and transparent as possible, and know that even if we are, it still isn't going to be enough for some people. And then also be okay with that. We can't please everybody, but this pandemic has lasted far longer than any of us really anticipated. Nobody is happy that we are here, but it's made us all pretty cranky and suspect and skeptical, and we're scared in this place of vulnerability that we find ourselves in. It's not comfortable for anybody. Nobody loves feeling this way of not knowing what's going to happen, what our immediate future even looks like. So in these times, you know, that your frontline workers are wearing masks and that they're wearing them appropriately and that they are wearing them with a good attitude, that matters. Like people are noticing, your customers are noticing and talking about that to their neighbors and on social media. Customers being able to visibly see your sanitation process at work is important. You need to think of any way that's feasible and reasonable for you in your daily goings on to assure one another. That's what we're needing. And then also create options, alternatives, anything you can when and where you can. Think outside the box for this. There's this really cool sociological study where there's two groups that are put in isolation, and they have really loud music being piped in. And the goal is to see how long they can last inside of these rooms. But one group has a button that will stop the music, and they're given those instructions. Say, we're just trying to see how long you can last with this music. If you push that button, the music's going to stop. But try and see how long you can make it. And that group, they never used that button, but that group lasted longer than the other group because they knew that there was an out. They knew that they could if they needed to. And having that, knowing that there was an alternative, that there was an option, gave them the strength to persevere a little bit longer than that other control group. Anyway, fun fact. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. I am presenting to a group this afternoon at lunchtime, and I took a little bit more time getting ready. And additionally, I'm truly blessed by living a very, very short distance from the visitor center. And I got in my car and paused, and I really didn't want to put on my seatbelt this morning. I didn't want to wrinkle my dress, and it was hot and humid. And I didn't want one more thing touching me than needed to be touching me. And I'm cranky. I may have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't want to do it. And in my head, I'm listing the reasons. Oh, well, gosh, the likelihood of me getting into an accident, in the mile that I have to travel is negligible. And I actually even went so far as to move my foot to the brake and put the gear shift in reverse. And I stopped, I was unbuckled and unwrinkled, but not unbothered, because I looked over to my right, and on my front porch was my oldest daughter, Zoe, with our dog. And they were watching me and waving goodbye to me. And I certainly don't want my own child to see me do that and think that it's okay to ever not buckle up. And then I thought, I know I'm going to go down Mound Street and on Hughes, and that's where all the police officers gather in the parking lot across from the First Christian Church. And gosh, how awkward would it be if they were put in a position to see me without my seatbelt, and they would have to, give me a warning or a citation. And those are my friends on the police force. I wouldn't want to put them in that position. And gosh, then if I got a ticket, it's a small town. What if somebody on my board of directors were to hear that I just made such a reckless decision? They hired me thinking that I could gather information and make informed, intelligent decisions and choices for the CVB. And then lastly, and I'm not the luckiest person, I'm blessed, but I'm not really lucky. If there's something bad that can happen, it's probably going to happen to me. And even though negligible, that there's even a chance that I could get in an accident, and the fact that I'm not wearing a seatbelt could move the potential degree of severity of any injury that I might incur from minor to major exist in that scenario. So I buckled up, and I wear a mask every day for those exact same reasons. So I challenge you, if you are a supporter of wearing face coverings while you're doing your daily business, do so, and impress the importance upon your friends and your neighbors. And remember that, people are watching and looking to you for an example. And if we're going to get through this, we're going to have to get through it together. So let's be kind to one another and give one another grace. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. I do see that we have Aaron online, possibly Les from the NASD. Would you care to give us a quick update on the schools?
Hi, Les is in another meeting, so just me. I'm free. I don't tell him. I get to say whatever I want to today. Just update. The only update I can tell you is that we're slated to start August 24th. That's it. In answer to Heather's question about us working with the governor, we work with TEA and Mike Morath, and the governor's office works with TEA and Mark Morath. So that's our chain to answer that question.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, folks, I want to thank everybody on the call today. We had a lot of ground to cover. I want to thank again Sheriff Bridges for his great presentation today, and we're all rooting for the county and our neighbors through this very difficult challenge. I also want to let folks know that we are in the process of selecting applications or inviting applications for Leadership Nacogdoches. My understanding, there are a few slots available. We've got over 20 applicants right now, I believe. But if you don't have it, there'll be an application in the upcoming mailing that we'll be sending out this week. Plus, you can swing by the chamber. We have applications here, or just contact Kelly Augustine, and Kelly will help you. I also want to let you know our speaker for next week will be a fellow named Kevin Warner, who is the president and CEO of the Texas Healthcare Association. I've asked Mr. Warner to join the call to give us a sense of the enormous challenge that Texas is experiencing today in the long-term care community and those facilities. So he's agreed to join us a week from today. And I know that it'll be information that will be of value to all of us. So again, I want to invite you folks to participate. And again, thanks to all of our presenters today and Sheriff Bridges. I wish you all a very safe and happy and healthy week. And I do appreciate your participation today. Thank you very much.